Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crypto at the Ferrum Roundtable. My name's Tom, and please welcome Taha and Nick. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Hey, how are you? Doing pretty good.
Yeah,
Hey
well,
Tom.
I'm super happy to have you here, guys, because I think you've recently just got back from Bogota, in Colombia, from Devcon 2022. And that's what we're going to be discussing here. Taha, thank you so much for putting together a great article with lessons learned from Devcon 2022. The link is in the description. But yeah, guys, how was it?
Yeah, I think I wanna kind of hand it off to Nick, kick it off because he's the one that kind of pushed for the team to attend because there's so many conferences he's been to some of them before. So Nick, do you want to kind of share why you figured DevCon Bogota was like a good conference to come to and how you felt about it maybe?
Yeah, for sure. So, we're always kind of trying to seek out where would be the best places to go for the team, just in terms of logistics and where we're gonna get the most value. DevCon kind of tops the list. It's basically all the who's who building in the Ethereum and EVM compatible networks, but then you get every other ecosystem comes anyways, and so it does like side events and stuff. So you had Cosmos, you had Polkadot, you had Near. You've got everyone. People come from all over the world, no matter where it's at. This year it was in Bogota. I think next year it's going to be in Istanbul. This was my first DevCon, and I'm really glad that I did make the push for the team to come out here, and that Taha and Michelle were able to join as well, because I think having multiple boots on the ground there in different areas of expertise really helped us get the most out of it. Compared to other events that I've been to in the past, this is just way more builder centric and way more developer centric than a lot of other ones. A lot of other ones, everyone I've been to has been great, just has their own reasons, right? Like a lot of times it's more biz dev focused, lot more like altcoin focused. This was like infrastructure heavy, like you know the future of of Web3, and like the advancements in from an infrastructure standpoint are just mind-boggling. Hearing some of the talks that I'm sure Taha will talk about, just some of the things that these folks are building, it's like fundamentally we're way more ahead than we were during the bull market from a development standpoint. And it was just super validating to see that like Web3 is like alive and well, and it's not going anywhere. And like some of the things that are going to come from this, that are going to start sprouting up during this bear market and into the next bull, are really going to put us on a nice trajectory, I think. So yeah, I'm really stoked on DevCon. It was mind blowing.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I want to again thank you for pushing the team to come out because I know we do look at which conferences to go to. DevCon's been on the top of the list, but you being on the ground pushing for that, and after attending DevCon, it was also my first DevCon. I've been to other conferences, but not really a DevCon before, and it was a completely different experience. I think um, we probably will talk about this in like what are some of the things that we learned and what we noticed different in a bit here, but just the overall feeling was very much in line with what Nick mentioned, that Web3 is not going anywhere. In fact, it's stronger than ever, and it's just exciting to kind of have the IRL factor, as Ian likes to call it. Meet people in real life. You talk to them over GitHub issues or discussions in Telegram or Discord, but it's nice to actually connect with the builders and to see what they're going through and to validate a lot of like what we're doing as well. And a sense of community is there, and it's just a great environment to be in. So it was amazing from that perspective, and then we learned a lot and have a new sort of fuel to go work even harder to build what we're trying to build for the community.
Wow, guys, thank you so much. I mean, the event sounds really exciting and like super cool. But I've got a question. What did you learn at this event in Bogota this year? And if you could tell us in the community a little bit more about what kind of benefits Ferrum actually gets from attending such events.
Yeah, Nick, do you want to take that one first as well, and then I'll jump in after?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think, every time a bear market happens, there's always something that sprouts out of it. Like the last one was NFTs and DeFi. Like before the last bear, NFTs and DeFi weren't a thing, but during it, those are the two things that came about. And now it's like we're building on top of those things. So, you hear a lot of talk about like soulbound tokens, which is a new type of NFT. You hear a lot of talk about like ZK. You hear a lot of talk about DAOs. And seeing some of these kind of new advancements has been really eye-opening, in my opinion. Just like what things are going to be the focus, like for the next bull run, and ultimately like what's pushing the space forward. And so learned a lot about those type of niche areas that I don't think are going to be so niche in a few months, specifically as it comes to scaling solutions. A lot of cross-chain stuff that I know Taha will probably talk about, just in terms of security and designing with security in mind rather than having security as an afterthought, and the role that DAOs are going to play in organizing communities and organizing people, really, in a broader vision, and kind of bringing direct democracy to Web3, because it's something that is still fairly centralized in terms of governance. So lots of eye-opening discussions in those regards. So yeah, I mean, those were some of the areas that I thought were like, okay, this is kind of like the next wave of things. And then just in terms of like, what we got out of it, like I said, like a lot of times it's been more biz dev focused at previous conferences. This one, I think there's like Ferrum is really well positioned from a tech standpoint after this, even though we already were, but I think there were some things that we learned and people that we met that can really help with some back end infrastructure type things for some of the products we're going to be building out. And, just some more like in-depth relationships that we built than just surface kind of like let's partner up and like leverage each other's services, but more like how can we really like build something that's going to last. And there's a couple folks that we met with some really prominent projects that we're going to get the ball rolling with, and they could be some there could be some really big things that come out of it.
Yeah, I think the building aspect is really exciting. I think one of the biggest things is the team that you talked about, where it's very clear that the team is around scaling, securing, and interoperability of infrastructure, right? So it's more of an infrastructure-based team, and what's going to be the next foundational infrastructure that's going to be a lasting play. And interoperability, cross-chain aspects are a big part of that. ZK was a big part of that. From a building perspective, I mentioned this before as well, like meeting with the engineers for some of the partners that we're with, meeting with their CTOs, their product managers, and actually collaborating on, okay, like the conversations typically end with, okay, let's go build that. Let's make a Telegram group or a Slack channel or something to go build this. And that's how the conversations ended. And that was really, really nice, because typically, you're talking over weeks or months sometimes to kind of bring your vision together, and we were just able to connect on a lot of those areas. So that was nice. Another really important thing that I learned was, and it was kind of relieving to see that a lot of the fluff had gone away. So we hear about conferences in the bull market where there's people in suits, just like handing out cash, right? Like just like trying to invest in any project. Oh, you don't even have to have a website. Just like have a domain, and you'll get money, and then you'll go raise like, I don't know, millions of dollars and try to create something. But a lot of those projects were not there. And the ones that were there had a lot of substance. So the fluff went away, and you saw the true builders for the ecosystem, for the community there. And that allowed us to really make really valuable partnerships and set the foundation for partnerships that are going to be lasting. I think that's something that Nick is going to be pioneering over the next couple of weeks. He did a tremendous job over a bunch of events with some partners. We're not going to drop any names just yet, because I'm sure we'll be making some announcements around that. But they're not just partnerships where we're integrating from biz dev side, but we're going to have technical integrations with them. I was in a bathroom just after one of the parties, and just as I'm washing my hands, this guy comes up and he talks to me about a product that he's building. and ask me what we're building, and I talk about mainnet, and he's like, how do I get on that? Like that perfectly solves my use case. Like if I wanted to deploy my dApp, my solution on Algorand and Casper and on Dot system, like I would have to go hire all these developers, and your mainnet seems to solve that. So how do I get on that? And that factor was super validating. The final two things that I learned were the shiny object syndrome, and we talked about this in the article, and the security infrastructure, right? So like we talked about how a lot of fluff goes away in the bear market conferences. Well, sometimes we forget that Web3 organizations also live in the real world, right? Like at this, you have to pay salaries, you have to pay for resources, you have to pay for bills and hosting costs. And when you have a limited amount of capital to deal with, and you have a lot of products to put out, you're going to compromise somewhere. And we saw some talks where we see this in the hack news that comes out pretty much every week, that this bridge has been hacked or this protocol has been hacked. Is very likely security is typically at the bottom of the list, because people want to provide a better user experience, they want to provide performance, and they want to give a good experience to users, and typically security comes as an afterthought when the auditor identifies something. And we don't use that approach. For us, the products do take a little bit longer to come out, but security is integrated into our product architecture by design. And then we go through multiple iterations with our auditors. Like they send something back, if it creates new issues, instead of just bypassing that or saying, oh, don't worry, we'll fix it in the next version, we take the time to resolve those issues. And if those issues require an architectural change, we implement that as well. So that validation was really nice to hear. And it also was nice to see an analysis that a lot of the solutions that have come out, they have put out solutions that we're trying to build a little bit sooner, but some of them present a serious risk to the community and their funds in terms of how the security approach has been implemented. So people have already put out cross-chain swap protocols. There's in fact already solutions that do what our mainnet is trying to do, but some of them are relying on security infrastructure and the verification infrastructure off-chain, or they're compromising the decentralization of those aspects. And we're not trying to rush to the market. That doesn't mean we're trying to take it easy, but we're going with something that we believe is called the third mover's advantage, which again, we'll be talking about in the coming weeks and months, where we are trying to get the thing and the architecture, security, implementation done correctly so that it's a lasting solution. So I think that was also very validating, that a lot of these hacks, why they're happening, when you think about the resource constraint and the compromise, it all kind of connects together.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what, like there's with when right now, basically crypto is getting more and more popular, right? Like every week by week, basically every single month, it gets more popular. And there's much more events coming out right now, hosted by different companies, by different projects, by different businesses as well, all over the world. Ferrum attends a lot of the industry events, a lot of the conferences as well. And how do you think that they've changed with time, compared to what it was a few years ago? And if anyone from the community would want to visit any of those conferences or events, crypto events, which ones would you recommend to visit first? Which one would you recommend to focus on?
Yeah, so Todd kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, was just how these events change over time. He kind of referred to like how they changed from the bull to the bear, and I think that's the best way to kind of describe it, because like he said, like a lot of the fluff has been removed, which makes like our jobs way easier, right? Because like you're talking to a lot of people, right? And not everyone, while they may be building something really cool, has like a lot to add to what you're building, or vice versa. But that becomes even like increased tenfold when maybe the products aren't even cool, because they're just a money grab, trying to like, which is, you see a lot of that in the bull market. And so like, during the bear, right, or like during times when the real cream of the crop is rising to the surface, it's actually a great time to attend conferences. And I think like we've seen the evolution of conferences since those like money grab days of the wild west. I don't think that crypto is continuing in that direction, right? I think we're moving away from that. We're becoming more having a little bit more of a traditional mindset when it comes to investing and the things that we need to see from projects to take them seriously. And people have been fooled too many times in years past, and I think people are kind of becoming a bit more keen or privy to what makes a project successful. And so the folks that are trying to take advantage just aren't really wasting their time at these places anymore, because we're getting a lot wiser as an industry. So that helps the people that are actually doing work kind of sift through some of the nonsense. So I didn't see any nonsense at this conference. It was just all straight builders, like with good ideas. In terms of your question of like where to tell people to kind of go if they're interested in things like this, I mean, Devcon's a great place to start. I saw a lot of folks, I met a lot of folks who weren't necessarily with a project. Maybe they were a developer or an aspiring developer. Maybe they were just a Web3 enthusiast and they just wanted to learn more. I would say a majority of folks are building something, but I was really surprised to see how many just enthusiasts and folks wanting to learn more and increase their knowledge and awareness of the space. How many of those folks showed up? So wherever you are, like in the space, like as an investor, if maybe you're an OG, maybe you're a noob, but like these kinds of places are the best places to go to really get your chops up. And so I would recommend next year it's going to Istanbul, Turkey, which is going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to go to that one. But I think I'm going to be like a DevCon, like an annual perennial, I think is the word, DevCon goer. So yeah, I would recommend that one for sure.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that is for new people, I think also identifying the sector that you're interested in. So Devcon, while it covers a lot, it provides the best value if you're developer centric. There are also conferences that are organized that are NFT specific. So if you want to learn about NFTs, they're trading, things like that. There's NFT specific conferences, and then there's ecosystem specific as well. Like Solana, I think, is organizing one coming up in November. So if you're interested in like a specific ecosystem, you can identify those. Doing a little bit of research in terms of what you're interested in can help. So you're not showing up DevCon learning all about NFTs. Like you'll learn some, but it's not going to be as exciting as an NFT specific conference if that's what you're interested in. So what part of the audience you fall into kind of help. But conferences like DevCon and the Polkadot version and so on and so forth, like they're obviously ones that we always recommend to attend because it covers so much. They're sort of like a all-encompassing conference for that ecosystem and even supporting ecosystems. So hopefully that helps somebody that's getting started in the space.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, Taha. Yeah, for sure. Being able to identify your niche, for sure. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Taha, I have one more question for you as well. In the article related to this video, the link's in the description, you've also mentioned that in a few months we're going to be looking to start running hackathons and similar programs. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily in a few months, over the next few months. So they might be starting as early as a couple of weeks from now. So we connected with the ETH Foundation, the Ecosystem Support Fund, and obviously we're doing the same thing with the Web3 Foundation. And we're really trying to nurture the communities in the areas where there's a lot of excitement, but not as much access. So Latin America in general falls into that category. So we're connecting with ETH Colombia over here to see if we can tap into the .sama ecosystem through them or just general ETH ecosystem and organize, give back to the community, train them on some of the best practices, and then recruit some team members even that might want to be a part of the Ferrum team to help build our mainnet or our supporting solutions. We're going to be doing the same thing in South Asia and Pakistan in a few months, and then just circling around the world, finding those areas where perhaps as much resources as, for example, the US or Europe don't exist, and supporting those communities by giving back our knowledge. And then obviously, as we train people up, we would love to hire them as well to become part of our team and part of our journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So guys, tune in very soon to find out more information about that as well. And one final question to you guys that I've got. We've obviously discussed a lot of different benefits and what you've learned from DEF CON this year as well. But just to summarize the call and summarize this video, if you could share one most important thing that you've learned that you found most interesting at this event that you'd like to share with our community.
Yeah, sure. So I think the most interesting thing that I learned was how relevant what we're building, whether it's multi-swap or mainnet, is. You know, a lot of times working on something, you get so up close and personal to it that you kind of maybe forget the like the just the importance that it might actually have. You know that it had, that's why you start building it, right? But then you get so up close and personal to it that you might forget what it even looks like, right? Because like think about like a Mona Lisa, right? You're standing like this close to the Mona Lisa, you're like, what am I looking at, right? And then you take a step back and you're like, oh wow, that's the Mona Lisa, right? And so this kind of gave us some perspective. It kind of allowed me to step back and see just how important this really is to folks, because you know, Taha and I have gotten pretty good at our elevator pitch when talking about multi-swap or multi-chain infrastructure in general, cross-chain messaging engines, and what Ferrum is. And so people are like, oh, Ferrum Network, cool, what's that? You know, a lot of people don't know what Ferrum is. It was fun to see when people did know what Ferrum was, but a lot of folks don't. And so explaining what we're doing to them in your quick 2-minute pitch, and then they're like, whoa, like keep me in the loop on that, because in terms of my project going multi-chain, or in terms of potentially using a multi-swap widget, that those are things that could be really valuable for us. And I think that was really the most exciting part of it, just that validation of like, there's people that have built similar things or are building similar things like Taha mentioned, but it's still a novel concept, right? And it's still something that is cutting edge, and it's still something that needs to be built correctly as well. So answering people's questions like, oh, how are you accounting for the security of integrating all these networks, and having an answer for that is, and they're like, whoa, okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It was super exciting. So we're on to something, guys.
Yeah, I think that coupled with the last part that you mentioned about how we're going about it, that was really exciting for me to see that because of the magnitude of this, taking our time to go about it the right way, the inventions are coming out, securing it properly, like all of that was super validating that we are doing the right thing with not rushing through this, not necessarily, again, sitting on our butts and like saying, oh, we don't have any sense of urgency. We have a lot of urgency, but we're not compromising in the areas that matter. And I think that was really validating, because this is hopefully going to be something that's going to impact a lot of people around the world and give access to a lot of people to financial systems that they did not have access to before. And if we can be a part of enabling that, that comes with a lot of responsibility of making sure that these systems are secure and reliable and can be trusted by users. So I think that was very validating and exciting for us, and encouraging that, okay, let's get back to work and build something remarkable.
Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining this video. Thank you for sharing your experiences from this event. And yeah, hopefully soon you're going to be attending other events, and we're going to have other overview videos as well. The rest of the events from this year and the overviews from our team members are going to be in the description below. So go ahead and watch them as well. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
Tom.
Thank you.